Welcome to UCL. My name's Stephen Todd and I'm the Program Director for the new Management Science programs here at UCL. And in the next 30 minutes, what I'd like to do is to talk to you about why management science. But before we go into that, what I'd like to start is to talk about why do people work. There's a very interesting book by Daniel Pink called Drive, which talks about all of the latest thinking on what motivates people to work. And his work distilled things down into, once the basics of money have been taken care of, there's three primary reasons why people work. Firstly, a sense of purpose. Does the work that they're doing contribute to something that they individually believe is worthwhile in the world? Secondly, a sense of autonomy. Do people have control over their work and what they're responsible to do? And thirdly, mastery. Do people have the opportunity to get better and to be really good at something? And those are the three main drivers as to why people work. If we go back to the first of those, purpose, and say, for many people, what is the most important purpose for them about work? And for many people, it is trying to change the world. And change the world is the overarching focus of the whole School or Faculty of Engineering Sciences here at UCL. And you'll see it in big orange letters across the front of the engineering building when you visit us here at UCL. A variety of different areas where you could change the world. UCL has a focus on a number of what it calls grand challenges, areas like health and well-being, global health, and other areas. And if I use that as an example to look at different ways that people can focus their careers on changing the world. Three core ones come to mind. Firstly, focusing on technology. Secondly, on products. And thirdly, on organizations. First, if you look at the opportunities in technology. If you say you're going to dedicate your career to trying to improve the world through technology, one area of possible area you could work in is the mobile internet. And this slide shows research from a new study carried out by the McKinsey Global Institute on 12 leading technologies, disruptive technologies that are changing the world. And for example, the mobile internet, as well as having a broad range of economic impact across a wide range of industries, but for example, with the focus on healthcare, has a potential to generate 10 to 20% potential cost reductions in the treatment of chronic diseases through its role in remote healthcare monitoring. So again, you could focus on technology as your way of contributing to changing the world. Next area it would be in terms of products. And as an example here, I've got a new blood glucose monitor that connects into the bottom of an iPhone and helps diabetics track and record their blood glucose readings to be able to take control of their diabetes. And again, really interesting product, and again, a great way that you could change the world by focusing in on contributing into products. But the last category, and the one that I really want to focus on today, is through organizations. And as an example, this is a company called HealthTap, based out of San Francisco, founded in 2010, and has grown rapidly to 30 people, and over the last few years has raised $38 million of venture capital. And what HealthTap is doing is radically transforming the way that people access information about health. Now, healthcare is the second most searched for topic of all internet searches worldwide. But the problem with searching for information on the internet for health is, how do you trust the source of that information? And what healthcare has done is transforming the way that people interact with healthcare information by providing an online service available through a mobile app that allows people to ask questions for information purposes about healthcare issues that they're worried about, and they get an individual reply within generally about 3 to 5 minutes from a real, live, board-certified US physician, and for free. And that is, again, the example of a new startup business that is getting to scale very quickly and is radically changing the way that things get done. So one of the focuses really of the management science program is understanding organizations, understanding companies and businesses, and how they work at scale. And if I look at some of the examples of the world's most innovative companies, using the examples of a survey from Fast Company, which is a very interesting magazine that I'd recommend reading that covers the technology sector. And their 2013 survey of innovative companies focused on businesses whose innovations are having the greatest impacts on their industries or on culture as a whole. And here is examples of the top 12 of those companies. Now, some of those companies you'll recognize, companies like Apple, companies like Amazon, but there's companies in there that you probably would not have heard of. So, for example, Safaricom is the leading telecom operator out in Kenya and is radically, again, changing access to healthcare using mobile phones as the method of bringing people in rural communities in connection with doctors. Or Sproxil, which is a company that provides authentication solutions for products. Originally, it was launched to provide authentication of products in the food industry, but its primary focus now is on providing tags that go on products that reveal a code that the consumers can send in with a mobile phone to be able to know whether the product is authentic. And the huge market for that is on making sure that pharmaceuticals and drugs are actually genuine. And this is a massive problem internationally, particularly in the developing world. But again, these are the sorts of organizations who are making a massive change at scale on some of the world's most exciting areas. But there's a problem. And the problem is that designing, building, and running organizations that can change the world at scale is hard. And what I want to talk about now is why that's hard. The biggest issue really is that the world is changing fast. 3 factors that are really impacting why understanding organizations, why understanding the world of business and management is difficult and complicated at the moment. And the first is technology, data, and people. So if I start with technology, it's getting really hard to keep up with the rapid pace of technology development. Across the world, technology is being developed in a vast, complex array of organizations, academic research centers, non-academic research centers, venture-backed new startups, public companies, private companies, through new organizational structures like open source innovation activities. But the scale of this is massive. So, for example, in 2010, more than 500,000 patents were filed on a worldwide basis. $1.2 trillion was spent on global R&D, and over $50 billion was invested in private technology companies. And for anybody trying to do business in the world that's impacted by this rapid change in technology, that's generating a huge amount of complexity, a huge amount of speed of change. Now, McKinsey & Company, one of the world's leading management consulting firms, recently issued a study through their McKinsey Global Institute looking at disruptive technologies. And they identified 12 key disruptive technologies in areas like mobile, which I mentioned earlier, across a whole range of things to 3D printing, advanced robotics, autonomous and semi-autonomous vehicles, and also areas like energy and new materials and oil and gas technologies. Now, they've estimated that those 12 disruptive technologies alone, the potential economic impact of those in 2025 is estimated at somewhere between $14 and $33 trillion a year, which is a huge, massive amount of new value being created both by new companies and existing companies. And these new technologies potentially changing the industry dynamics across a vast number of industry areas. And again, if you're going to be the leader of a company going forward in your careers, you really need to be able to understand how technology changes the nature of business. The next area I wanted to touch on was the whole area of data. Now, big opportunities in business are generally found at the intersection of technology trends. And the opportunities in data, or commonly known in the press as big data, comes from the convergence of three new areas. Firstly, the price of sensors has been dropping tremendously. So your mobile phone will generally have a number of sensors in that will tell orientation and location, and there's a whole range of sensors like that where the price is dropping. The ubiquity of cloud computing. The majority of infrastructure in new software applications is moving to a cloud-based infrastructure, and many of you using your mobile phones or services like Dropbox will be familiar with having all of the data stored in the cloud. And the last area is the rapid drop in the cost of storage. And this whole area of big data is having a massive impact on business. To again get some sense of the scale of things, 30 billion pieces of content are shared on Facebook every month. And I'm sure many of you are responsible for quite a few of those yourselves. But when you think about it, 30 billion pieces of content every single month. Now, companies are capturing trillions of bytes of information about all aspects of their business operations, all through the engagement with customers, the suppliers, and their operations, because of this intersection of the cost of sensors dropping, the ubiquity of cloud, and the cost of data storage dropping. So, but all this vast amount of data, the question now is, what new questions can you ask and answer as a business using this data about your customers, suppliers, and your operations? Now, this is currently a very big, explosive area, and is one of the things that, for us in designing the management science program here at UCL, getting people to graduate who fundamentally understand the impact of the changes in data are going to have on business is a core part of this new program. But again, to give you some numbers and a sense of scale, $13 billion were invested in private big data companies in the 2 years from 2010 to 2012. This is a map from a really interesting Californian startup called Quid. I was meeting 2 weeks ago with Bob Goodson, who's the founder of Quid. And this company mines all of the available public information, so things like research papers, patents and stuff like that, to be able to build a map from this vast amount of data of what is happening in the technology sector, who's working on what areas of technology, what are the alliances and partnerships between different companies, to be able to map out this complex world of technology that I mentioned earlier. And this, for example, is a map of the big data space itself, with a variety of different clusters of companies and all of the interdependencies between them. And Quid's tools for being able to help people understand the complexity of this landscape are examples of some of the sorts of advanced tools that you on this program will have access to through our partnerships with exciting companies like Quid. But to give you a sense of, again, sense of scale of what's happening in the data space, in 2018, which by the way is the first year that students who do the MSCI program will graduate from the program, the US is estimated that it will need 1.5 million business executives and support staff who fundamentally understand data. And again, that's a figure again from the McKinsey Global Institute. And this is a category of job that didn't exist at all a couple of years ago. But a lot of concern at the moment as to will there be enough people in business by 2018, which is to say when people graduate from the master's version of this program for the first time, but the US alone will need 1.5 million people like that. And again, the whole area of data science, Hal Varian, who's the chief economist at Google, who I heard speak at an event in Santa Clara 2 weeks ago, described data science as the sexiest job in the 21st century. Because again, capturing the essence of how important it is to be able to understand how data is impacting and changing everything. And that said, that's one of the reasons why data literacy and really understanding data as well as understanding technology is a key part of the design of the new management science program. The last area I want to talk about is people. Because people are one of the major things that drive complexity in business. And again, to give you some ideas on sense of scale, if you're 1 in a million in China, there are 1,300 people just like you. That's the scale of China as a country. That's the scale of China as an economy. And to put that in a different perspective, if you took the population of China and looked at the 25% of that population with the highest IQs, that's greater than the total population of North America. So again, the complexity of understanding the global economy, the complexity of understanding global business is critical for people who are going to work in companies over the next 20 to 50 years and to lead companies in that space. Now, one of the things that the management science program focuses on is engineering. Now, engineering, as I mentioned earlier, there's great places you could build your career in contributing to technology and to products, and the UCL has a world-class engineering sciences faculty with leading programs across all of the major engineering disciplines. And if those are attractive to you, I'd definitely recommend UCL as a place to do engineering. And engineering is hard. And building things out of software, building things out of silicon, building things out of electrons or molecules is hard and requires rigorous disciplined training to be able to design, build, and maintain complex systems built out of software, silicon, electrons, or molecules. However, organizations are built out of people, and people don't respond as easily to what you want them to do as software, silicon, electrons, or molecules. And that's why management science as a discipline is extreme engineering. Because in management science and in the management of companies and organizations, what we're doing is we're building massively complicated machines, but made out of this complex, messy stuff called people. And that's why I believe that, again, for people who have strong engineering type thinking, the challenge of working in management is a great form of extreme engineering. What I'd like to sort of close on is really to focus on the areas of management, why management science, and why UCL. Now, the US Department of Labor estimates that today's students will have between 10 and 14 jobs by the age of 38. And think about that for a minute in terms of the type of skills that you need in the world to survive in this fast-changing world with a lot of technology complexity, changing data, and the complexity of the world economy. So what do the world's leading companies want? Well, what these sort of companies, like the ones from the Fast Company survey earlier, need are people who can operate in complex, innovation-intensive, data-driven environments. They need people who have the skills to be able to analyze complex problems using both the best available quantitative tools, the best use of data, but also qualitative methods, people who can understand the complexities of people. And they want people who are able to understand the reality of complex business decisions and can take decisions in the face of uncertainty and risk, and who can deliver results through people. No business of any scale operates without a large number of people, and at different points in your career, you'll need to make things happen in the world with increasingly larger teams and groups of people. Those are the core skills that people want. And that's the focus of the new management science programs here at UCL, whose focus is to provide a rigorous, practical foundation in those critical skills that the world's leading companies want. Now, the program here at UCL is unique in the UK. And the three things I want to talk about the program are it's unique, it's rigorous, and it's practical. So the focus of the program is not a broad general management program. The focus of the program is on complex, innovation-intensive, data-driven environments, data-driven businesses, which are some of the most challenging and exciting places to work in the world. The program focuses on providing strong quantitative skills. So this program has at its heart a very strong mathematical quantitative core, which again, for the reasons I mentioned earlier, in terms of the importance of the role of data in business going forward, is absolutely critical to the next generation of managers and leaders in businesses. But as well as that focus on the quantitative and qualitative skills, this program provides its students with a broad understanding of how companies work in practice and how they work at scale and internationally. This program, as I say, is unique in the UK. The two programs on a worldwide basis that it's probably closest to is there's a very good management science and engineering program at Stanford and a good management science program at MIT. But those are the closest comparisons to, say, this new, unique program here at UCL that we're launching for the first time in September 2014. This is a very rigorous program, and I won't in the slightest bit apologize for that. This is not an easy, light option. This is a program that will stretch and challenge you over the entire 3 to 4 years that you're here at UCL. So a very strong, rigorous program. And the thing that I'd suggest when thinking about that is the framing of this very important decision that you have to make, which is what subject are you going to study and where are you going to study it? Now, for many of you, you'll have a focus on the next 4 years of your life, the 3 to 4 years that you might be here at university and what that's going to be like. And yes, that is really important. But I'd suggest again in using the discipline and principles of management science to reframe that problem, what you really need to be thinking about is your career and the 30 to 50 years you're going to be working after you graduate. And what are the skills that you're going to need in this very fast changing, moving world? And I would suggest that the thing that you really need is to build a rigorous foundation of the critical core skills that allow you to deal with this fast changing world of business. And that's what the rigorous underpinnings of this program are meant to provide. So there'll be core courses in your first two to three years on mathematics, critical analytical thinking, data analytics, design, economics, behavioral science, that will provide you the real foundation blocks that will last you over a 30 to 50 year career and provide you the rigorous tools and concepts to be able to engage with all of the aspects of how business works. This is also a very practical program. The sort of companies that we're talking to at the moment who are expecting to want to be recruiting students from this program are fast-moving, high-growth companies, particularly in the tech, but not exclusively in the technology sector, so organizations like Google, organizations like Cisco, leading consulting firms like McKinsey or Deloitte or PwC or IBM Global Services, recruiting people into their business analyst programs, and similarly, top-tier financial sector organizations like Goldman Sachs or Deutsche Bank, and also high-growth, early-stage companies as well. These are the sorts of companies that we're talking to, working with on the design and content for this program. And from a practical point of view, the program will provide you, as I said earlier, the insight into how business works. So in the core part of the program, you'll have core courses on things like strategy, marketing, accounting and finance, decision and risk analysis, and operations management that will help you understand how businesses work. And you'll also have the opportunity in years 2 and 3 to take an engineering sciences minor in an area like, for example, data science, that can give you an opportunity to work with people in other of the departments across the engineering faculty. And in your final year, you'll get to focus on an area of management science concentration in an area like business analytics, financial engineering, marketing science, operations and project management, innovation and technology management, or entrepreneurship, that will help prepare you specifically for the types of jobs that you want to go into upon graduating. One of the other features that I want to mention about the new management science program is our careers and employer engagement program. Now, we have within the Management Science and Innovation Department our own careers support people. And I have people working with me already in designing the employer engagement program, because we believe that the skills that you need to develop in parallel with the core rigorous academic core of the program are critical, and those are designed fully into the program. Now, what I'd like to finish on is to say, I've talked about why I think that management science is probably the most exciting and the most relevant degree program to do if you care about the world of business. I now just want to finish by talking about why UCL. Well, this program is part of the Faculty of Engineering Sciences here at UCL, UCL Engineering, whose bold and single focus is on turning out people with the best education who can be part of changing the world. And I think that focus on changing the world is really important for this. In terms of the management science program specifically, that's delivered by the Department of Management Science and Innovation here at UCL, which in its current form has been going for 5 years and is a very successful high growth department that has master's programs in technology entrepreneurship, MSc in management, and a good undergraduate program in information management for business. And the people who work in MS&I work every day with global companies and innovative startups who are at the cutting edge of management science practice. And that engagement with the world's best companies, wherever they happen to be, in Silicon Valley or out in China. So for example, I've spent 5 weeks of the last quarter out in Silicon Valley talking to people in innovative startups, in large companies, getting their feedback on the design of this program and building partnerships that will help over the course of the program to help people with opportunities for internships and work experience, as well as bringing, say, the best thinking into the design of the program. And the focus of the Management Science and Innovation Department here at UCL is on 3 things: technology, innovation, and entrepreneurship, which for me makes this the best place for doing a program like this in management science. And finally, the department has a world-class group of people in both the lecturing staff, the teaching fellows, and other people in the department who are responsible for delivering the program and who you'll engage with during your time here at UCL. Lastly, I'd like to talk for a few moments about you. Well, for the first cohort of students for this new program, which will start in September 2014, we're looking for 40 people. And what we're looking for are people who are intellectually curious, self-motivated, who have strong quantitative skills. So the standard requirement that we have for this program is the equivalent of 3 grade A's at A level or the equivalent on other qualifications, including an A in mathematics. And that's the only subject where we have a specific requirement is at least 1 A level in mathematics, because this is a strong quantitative program and you need to have studied A level maths and been good at it to be able to keep up with the pace of this very rigorous program. But we're not just looking for technology geeks. What we're looking for is a rich mix of people who are genuinely interested in business and the impact that it can have on society, who are genuinely interested in both technology and people. Because as I said earlier, you can't build great organizations at scale unless you deeply understand people as well as understanding technology and understanding data. So that's the sort of people that we're looking for this program. I'd expect that here are some of the things that you might be doing or reading today. So keeping up with what's happening on the day-to-day news through news sources like Google News or The Guardian or The Economist, keeping up with what's happening in the technology sector with magazines like Wired or Fast Company, or even reading things like the MIT Technology Review, and being open to what's happening in the rest of the world, again reading things like The Economist or the China Daily, and a lot of these are available on the internet or through your public libraries. Also, you might well be the sort of person who is engaging in creative bits of education, who maybe is learning how to program using Code Academy, or watching courses from universities around the world on Coursera or edX. But again, what I want to stress is we're looking for a very broad, diverse set of people for this first cohort. And again, this will be a very international class of people because that's the reality of the world of business. So, what next? Well, there's 40 places, and the program starts, first lectures, on the 22nd of September 2014, which is slightly less than 450 days to go, depending on when you're watching this version of the film. Lastly, wanted to say we have, if you're interested in the management science program, we have 2 taster courses. The first is running on the 10th of July between 11 o'clock in the morning and 2 o'clock in the afternoon. The second is on the 12th of September between 2 and 5, and will provide you some more experiential feel for what being a student on the management science program will look like. We'll be telling you how to write a great personal statement, and we'll be having some leading employers coming in running business games to give you a sense of some of the careers that you might go into after you've completed the management science programs. Thanks very much for your time, and look forward to welcoming you at UCL. Thanks a lot.